All right, so here we are for the inaugural Solar Storm Aurora category. Had a lot of entries. Obviously, this last year, and I can't remember if it was also the year before, but the Aurora has been making appearances in places that usually doesn't. So suddenly people are able to photograph it. I mean, I could drive 40 minutes and found a cactus this year with a purple sky behind it, which I've never been able to do. So there's a lot of entries, a lot of people from, not just in the typical Iceland, northern, Canada kind of stuff, northern United States, but down in the deserts and all over the place have been able to capture stunning auroras. So we wanted to open that up this year. So these are top 25 selections of all the photos entered. So thank you all for entering. Some crazy good pictures, some very creative compositions. And so these are the top ones. And I'm going to open up to Dennis if he wants to start off. We're, again, like we were doing with the other ones this year, we're going to talk about a few that we like. And then we will talk more detail about our finalists in our next video. We'll talk about each of the photos in that one. So this one, we're not going to go over each one. And again, the ones we talk about will not necessarily mean that those are going to be finalists at all. They're just going to be ones we kind of liked. And then we're going to be going through the voting process and all that. So Dennis, you have any that you wanted to highlight and talk about?
Yeah. Last year was crazy for auroras. So even at my place, I have them dancing over my head, and that's very rare. So yeah, wow. It was great. Yeah, unfortunately, it was the night before I flew to Tornado Alley. So
of course,
because otherwise I've gotten better pictures. So, but anyways, yeah, let's start with number 3. This one already caught my eye when I scrolled through the entries, and the first one was the Aurora itself. It is crazy because it's just so concentrated in the middle, and just from the bottom right to the top left, it just lines up perfectly in the picture. And the church in the foreground, and it's well developed. The post-processing is good, except for one little thing I don't like so much at it. It's the tree and the bottom right.
Yeah,
it's a bit distracting my eye. But overall, the shot, the composing and stuff, and yeah, the photographer thought about very carefully how he want to make this one happen. So, and I appreciate it. So well done on this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of old abandoned churches, or maybe not abandoned, that were that people went out to find, and it's kind of interesting what people got drawn to. I think one I really liked because it was a little bit different from all the churches was this one. I know it's like, there's some distracting trees and stuff, maybe like on the lower part of the image, but I am really big on symmetry, and maybe I would have cropped a little bit from the left side over to make it match this side. But I love the border of the trees on the left side, so I wouldn't want to crop that out. I just liked that this photographer took the time to really line up this tower to get it almost perfectly symmetrical. And then the aurora is kind of coming out the top of it. And that's pretty, to have that line up is pretty remarkable. And I just like the symmetry of the shot. I'm very big on even when I'm doing like portraits of people, like weddings or whatever, I like symmetry. If they're on a wall, I want it very symmetrical. I want them balanced and all that. So this one really, I really appreciate what the photographer did here. Jennifer, what about you? Anything you want to highlight?
Oh man, I am so happy that we did this category this year. Y'all, it was hard to narrow these down. Thank you. We had 200 or more entries in this category. Yeah. So if you made it to the top 25, congratulations. It was really tough. Yeah, 13 caught my eye the same way 21 did. Just a centered, creative, different way of thinking about framing. You know, I really appreciate the way that these photographers are taking a look at these different elements and seeing how they can create interesting images. You know, how many times do we see beautiful auroras just shooting straight up, or beautiful auroras just on a nice scene? But like these little elements make your image stand out just that extra bit more. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the challenge, and it's kind of the challenge with I was going to say like moon photography, where, or even like the eclipses that people done, is like, how do you do something to make it your own? How do you get creative to make it, you know, something different? And one of the ones that I thought was the most creative, and I want to highlight one from the desert, because of course shooting aurora in Arizona, especially down in the desert, is nuts. Like, it's just stupid. And I know I went out and got a great shot of a saguaro with purple behind it, and then was like, okay, I'm done, because I could. It was one of those shots where, yeah, you could kind of see it faintly with your naked eye, but the camera is what really brought it out. And I went home, and then of course some light pillars came out later, like 3 hours later, and I guess I should have stayed out. But I just like the idea of this one. It's just something I would never think about. I would never bring a mirror out to the desert to reflect off a cactus. And I think the lighting here is great. It's very easy when you're out. You know, I've seen lots of photos where a nighttime like astro shot in the desert where the cactuses are really lit up, and you can just tell that they used a like a big bright flashlight or something, where this feels, even though you can tell they lit it up, it feels more balanced and even. And so I just like the creativity here, and the fact that we get this in the desert at all is pretty remarkable. So creativity, I think, in this category was really cool. Like, obviously for this whole grid, we can see lots of different things in the foregrounds and different angles and colors and all that stuff. So that's critical to this category, is you've got to stand out a little bit. Dennis, you got any others you want to talk about?
Let's do number 9.
Number 9. Yes.
Yeah, I love this scene so much. The old house in the middle of nowhere, abandoned for many, many years, and just the nice soft curtain in the background. It's just the scene itself for me. So you guys need to know, I have a bit of the German Europeans view on this. Maybe for you this is just a typical scene, but for me it's not. It's just, for me, a scene I would like to shoot just on sunset or so, because I like this, to know the story about these places and stuff, because we also do have abandoned places and stuff, but it looks different, completely different. So for me, these shots are interesting in itself. And if you shoot it with polar lights and aurora or a big storm or so, it's every time it caught my eye. So, and I like how the picture worked out here. So with just the old farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, I like the style.
Yeah, no, I think it's really great composition. The photographer chose to kind of balance the house on the left with the windmill on the right. And I like that the windmill's falling apart, just like the house is. It's not looking in great shape and the house is falling apart. All of it's falling apart. And I also think, you know, we have such a variety of auroras, but I really like the strong light pillars in this one, kind of coming out of the house almost, in a way, in the horizon. So I agree. Jennifer, what about you? Anything else?
Oh, I know so many of these we're going to be talking about, so I'm trying to sit on my hands. I really did appreciate number Would you scroll up again? I'm so sorry. Number
No, it's okay.
6.
Number 6.
I'd
Yes.
love to just mention this because it's so, I'm always saying the word dreamy, but hey, this feels dreamy. It's foggy. I mean, when do you ever see a foggy aurora shot? I don't feel
Yeah.
like we see that. So I appreciate the time they lowered the camera, getting some of that, the water in the foreground. And I like that they didn't try to cut through the fog with too much contrast. I like and appreciate the feeling here. So it was different, and I like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm big on dreamy photos too, and the softness of that one is spectacular. So I think one last highlight would just be this one, just because I mean we have spectacular auroras and all this, but this just feels like you were saying before when we were looking at these, an orange sickle, which is really funny because I'm drinking like an orange sickle energy drink right now because I needed it. But I do love the fact that we do see a lot of colors, and it's a lot of purples and greens and reds, but just the way it looks like it's exploding over this abandoned church, and the church is kind of lit up and the light on it is really, really great. So I just kind of like how this one looks just in general. But these are all fabulous. And honestly, it makes me wish that I would have, taken the time to drive maybe further north or fly somewhere to actually get to see more of that, because in Arizona, it was more of like a vague kind of glow in the sky. And everybody that went out and drove, I know people that, live further south that drove, 8, 12 hours to get places to capture it, and specific locations they picked out, especially here in the United States, because we don't see it here very much. So people were working really, really hard this year to capture this stuff. So congrats to those that made the top 25. And again, when we post our finalists, we will talk about those images in more detail. And good luck. And we have a lot of work to do cutting these down, because they're all really fun. So I'm not looking forward to that part. So good luck to everybody.